Don in London, hello. It's October the 17th. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol. My behaviour equally addictive, around people, places and things. Trying to be with the right people, in the right place, doing the right things. So, in recovery, one day at a time, courtesy of a lot of help, and that help comes on a daily basis these days. What do I do to keep sober? I keep on living life, actually, as best I can. So, what is living life? Fundamentally, it comes down to probably three elements: how to love people, how to be loved back, and do something useful. And whatever it is that is useful for you to do in your life is what it's all about. And without the need to fix myself or yourself with a drink or a drug or a set of behaviour around perfection, right people, right place, right things, then we have freedom of choice based on real life. Life on life's terms, as I've come to understand it. So, sober today is all that matters. And where did I learn all about this? Well, I was very lucky. Family, friends, professionals, you name it, kept me alive long enough to get a moment of clarity. And that simple moment of clarity was to overcome the obstacle of trying to do things on my own, trying to solve all my problems on my own, as an addict to alcohol, or an alcoholic. So, recovery remains one day at a time. And I know the problem with addiction is, without understanding it, without help at hand when it needs to be at hand, any one of us can go back into the awful trap of relapse or slips or whatever you want to call them, going back for another go, another bit of research. And if we've got an understanding of what it's like to be sober, how on earth does that happen? Well, sometimes the usefulness we feel we have in life can be undermined, either by ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, or simply what we're doing, which we thought was useful, is no longer useful to other people around us. So we need to keep on changing, and that is extraordinarily difficult. So I was very lucky. Somehow, somewhere, not only a professional, but family said, why don't you go to AA? Or rather, go in there to these fellowship things and sort yourself out. And it was a bit of a rude awakening when I went to my first meeting. Not of my own volition, but taken there by my sister in her car. And I walked into a meeting with maybe 120 people in it, and I thought, oh my God. And I looked around. I could see my neighbours, I could see people I knew from local clubs and the health club, and my mum's best friend in the front row. So a bit of a shock to the system, and I stayed long enough to say, yes, I am new to AA and I'm an alcoholic. And then, when it was convenient to get out, I left and went to the pub and didn't go back for quite a long time. So I didn't get the message straight away. I was still absolutely shocked and fearful of this fellowship, a fellowship which was there simply to help me make better choices in life. And I can say with some relief, it's been some years of continuous sobriety for me, simply because I stopped trying to do it on my own and accepted I needed help from whatever source. So the Fellowship of AA has become part of my life, as has being looked after in other ways for other complaints from professionals. So I go to the Fellowship of AA, to keep my mind on track, living in one day, learning how to love people, be loved back and useful. And it's amazing. I'm amazed I'm still alive today, 7 years on and a bit. So what is AA and how does it help me? Before I say how it helps me, I must say I'm not a spokesperson for AA, never can be, because it's full of unique, authentic people on their own life journey, and they can speak for themselves where they wish to and wherever it is that they wish to. and for whatever reason. So no, I don't represent AA, never can, never will, but I can share about how it helps me in my life and how the 12-step program has worked for me. And it only works on a daily basis when I have the life experience for these 12 steps to work. So I have to keep on being aware of what's going on around me. And life is not about me, it's about the big picture and how I fit in. So I've come to terms with not being in control of anything but my next free choice based on how life is today. And it hasn't really narrowed down my options. Indeed, it's improved my options on a daily basis as to what I can do. So no longer imprisoned in a pub, a bar, a need for a drink, a need to fix myself in some way. I can just go out when I feel like it and experience life, or experience life at home. Home feels okay these days without a drink in it, and me without a drink in me. So AA has helped me learn life all over again, and keep on learning life all over again, one day at a time. So I'm going to share what is AA, the AA preamble, which is shared at every meeting I go to, when I can get to them, and something of the 12-step program, and the daily reflection book, which is, I hope, coming online free of charge very shortly, but it is out there on the internet in so many different places. Just look around. And the same applies to the AA Big Book, which is behind me here. I do get it out and read it. And the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, the purple one next to it, they are on the main AA website, and you can open the book and see how it works as and when you feel it may be appropriate to you. But I go back and read it again and again, because it seems to mean something different every time I read it. So if you were a religious person, you would say, I open the Bible and it means different things to me in different times in my life because of my life experience. And that's what good books do. So if it's not the Bible, it may be the Quran, or if it's not the Quran, it can be something else. Whatever it is which suits you, which gives you a bit of energy for life and shows how the mishaps happen and what to do about them. So similarly, the AA Big Book is full of stories about how people got sober and how they kept sober. And often I meet people who are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years sober, simply because they live one day at a time, and it's all joined up, and they're full of wisdom. These people have an embedded value of wisdom, but their balance sheet of living, what's working and what's not working, is always today. So the AA preamble reads as this, with a couple of additions from me, just to broaden it out. And I feel it's important to know and remember the AA preamble. No matter how many times it's been heard, it often means something different, because whatever is on our mind starts to come up and we can deal with it. So, the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. So it's there to help each other. All the same size people, equal. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So the only requirement for going to an AA meeting is a desire to stop. So if you have a desire to stop, or in my case reluctantly had a desire to stop, or no desire whatsoever when I first went along, there were no rules, laws or regulations for people to instruct me on what to do to be part of fellowship. All I needed was an inclination to stop drinking. So no rules, laws or regulations. There are no dues or fees for AA membership, so it's free. But we are self-supporting through our own contributions. So those of us who can make a contribution to rent, tea, coffee and a bit of literature, we do, as best we can, if we have any money. But it seems to amble along with a prudent reserve, which is normally a month or two, to cover rent and all the other bits and pieces. Otherwise, money would become an issue, and we don't want money to be an issue at all, or power over everybody. So there are no leaders in AA. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. So the fellowship is there for people to learn how to stop drinking, but what you will hear in AA is every background and walk of life is discussed, shared and delivered by those who have these different experiences of life. So everyone has an opinion about how to live, and it's called Experience, Strength and Hope. But it's not for us as individuals to try and impose our values on other people or our beliefs. So you can believe in what you believe, your choice, your freedom. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And sometimes we can be overly helpful or feel like we need to tell you what to do. And the answer is we can't tell anyone what to do, we can merely suggest. But you will hear people say it's never the same as it used to be. And that's because AA keeps on moving as people move along in their lives day by day. And as newcomers come in, we get new information. As old-timers die off from natural causes, hopefully, then their wisdom is lost. So it's a renewing process all the time. And sometimes you find meetings where there are just newcomers and a few people who've got an idea of how it all works. And sometimes you'll find yourself in the company of people with many years sobriety, and you feel like you're the youngest there, so sober time. And I like it like that, because it means I can listen and hear what other people are dealing with. And usually, whether you're a newcomer or an old-timer, you're living in the same day, and you may have similar problems. And it might be the newcomer who tells the old-timer how to use their telephone in order to get medical help, should they need it, late at night. Or it can be, my recent experience of drinking made me feel like this, and the old-timer says, my God, I'd forgotten. So we all help each other in different ways, and there are things to do, like service. Before I go on to the daily reflection, it's an October day, so 12 steps of recovery, to be open, honest and willing to live life as it is, life on life's terms. And October is about step 10, which reads, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So what we do is, we look at what we do, what disturbs us, how we are behaving, and what can lead us back to the angry old person we might have been, or the people pleaser type of person, pleasing everyone but not pleasing ourselves. And at the same time for October, it's about traditions as well, and it says here, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy, which fits in with the preamble where it says AA is not allied with anything. But everybody in AA is, so sometimes we need to make sure that we're not actually saying AA made me able to be a politician or a banker or a doctor or a road sweeper or a biscuit tin manufacturer or whatever, a person who is just living their lives as best they can. So AA is not a springboard into something else, it's just a fellowship which helps keep us sober so we can get on with life. So we don't promote AA. AA cannot fix anything, but it can be attractive because what you see is what you get on a daily basis. The people within it, what you see is what you get. And some people will be marvellously sober, and some people will be horribly sober because they're in a bad mood and bad-tempered and angry, because that's the way life has treated them today. So you will be able to see that even if you are angry, sad and depressed and feel like self-harm and another drink, you don't have to, because there is a way out. And the 12 steps help us deal with that. And the 12 traditions help us keep fellowship safe. So the daily reflection for today, with the 10th step is all about doing a spot check inventory. When I am disturbed, there may be something wrong with me rather than it with them. And it's very easy to blame them for all our problems. And what have we done to deserve this? And why did I expect it to be like this and it's turned out to be worse? The daily reflection. A daily tune-up. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will in all our activities. Now, some of us are not too sure what that means, because we don't necessarily believe in God the way other people believe in God, which is not surprising. With 6.5 billion people on the planet, people have different opinions of how God works, or doesn't work, or exists, maybe exists, or doesn't exist at all. But I'll come on to that in a moment. How do I maintain my spiritual condition? And for me, maintaining my spiritual condition is coping with life and reality as it is today. And that was a senior cleric in one particular religious sect said it. When asked what is spiritual, he said it's the ability to cope with reality, what is going on now. So everything is spiritual. The spiritual experience we have can be good or bad, as life is, but it's what we do about it. Do we go back to self-harm? Do we deal with it? And if we want to deal with it, where do we get the experience to do that, and the wisdom? Well, if you've got a fellowship behind you, you're probably going to find that there's somebody who's had a like experience. So it's the similarities which keep us sober and spiritual. And our spiritual condition can be bright, joyful and happy, or dull, sad and absolutely desolate, depending on what's going on for us. But the experience of it, sober, means it's dealt with as we go along, rather than building up mountains of problems and then feeling like life is just too much, and where's that bottle? For me, and it says here, for me it's quite simple. On a daily basis I ask my higher power to grant me the gift of sobriety for that day. And my higher power is the truth, love and wisdom of what is going on. Absolute truth, not my opinion. Love, what comes from other people, as much as I give. And the wisdom which is around me. And it's not necessarily within fellowship, it's everywhere. I can ask the road sweeper, and he may give me the right answer to most of my problems today. And I like him, actually. He's a very nice man from Poland. And he can still walk, and I can't. Not as well as he can, anyway, and he's older than me. So we deal with what we deal with, is what I'm saying. So I've talked to many alcoholics who have gone back to drinking, and I always ask them, did you pray for sobriety? And sobriety the day you took that first drink. Not one of them said yes. As I practiced step 10, that's the spot check inventory. Why am I disturbed? What can I do about it? Phone a friend. Get to a meeting. And try to keep my house in order on a daily basis. I have the knowledge that if I ask for a daily reprieve, it will be granted. So if I'm aware that I'm in trouble, spot check inventory or step 10 is what's disturbing me. I can be happily disturbed, which can lead to a drink, celebrating a lottery win. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but you never know. Or it could be that someone's died who I know. There's been quite a few deaths this year. It's been a bit calamitous, really. And they're not forgotten. And it's very sad, but I didn't drink because of it. So that's the daily reflection from the book. And for me, because I do believe everybody should work it out for themselves. What is the higher power for them? Well, for me it's good conscience, truth, love and wisdom. And somehow it feels that that may be a connection to a spirit or a zeitgeist, spirit of now, living in the now, living in reality. And if God is anywhere, where would he be? He'd be in the now. That's supposing there is time. The element of time is something that belongs to God. I guess it doesn't. God is now and everywhere. And that is like good conscience and getting the wisdom from people or the universe or wherever it's coming from. It's not necessarily my view and my way. It's I'm a part of life, and where will it lead me? So my thoughts this morning. Last night with shoes on and ready to go to a meeting, eyes got blurred, head feels light and balance goes wonky and my temperature's up. Tummy upset, shoes off, sit down, did the right thing. When we feel off, and it's not always yes, doing the right thing when we feel off is not always getting to a meeting. And the reason why I say that is I'm type 1 diabetic, courtesy of being long enough alive to get it. After a few years of being sober, nothing wrong with me. An infection, a virus, and onset of type 1. I'm going to look at that again today just to make sure I understand exactly why I got it. It was a virus, it shocked my system, and that's what happened. It can happen if you've got PTSD, not wishing to scare you. But a nasty shock to the system can bring onset of type 1 diabetes for some of us. So I didn't go to a meeting. My blood sugars went between 28 and 4. 28 is too high, heart attack and stroke country, and a level of 4 is just coming into what is called, I can't even remember what it's called now. That says something about my blood sugars right now. A hypoglycemic reaction. Hypo, low sugar. If it goes down below 2.5, I go unconscious, which is not pleasant if you're on your own. You just hope you've got enough sugar in your system or in your liver that the shock will kick it off. Or I wouldn't be speaking right now. So, looking at the daily reflection, a daily tune-up, this is when I was thinking, every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. For me, look at the big picture as a part of life and society. It's not about me, it's about it is always about us, the greater good and good conscience. And we fit in, and we learn how we fit in through how we love, be loved back, and are useful. How can we be useful? How can we maintain ourselves today and be a part of what's going on, whether it's family, community, society? What's our part to play? And it's not all about me, because if it was all about me, it would be me trying to control the world, and I can't control the world. As I am powerless over alcohol, I've learned I am powerless over the thoughts, feelings and intentions of people. I'm powerless over places because they remain the same, and I'm powerless over things because they're inanimate, and I may need them but not have them, and that's the way it goes. So step 10s on a daily basis, or spot check inventories, will tell me how am I feeling, why, what may I do, and if that's being assertive with myself. How am I feeling, why, what can I do? If I feel ill, like I did last night, it was very unpleasant, I have to say, and kept me up into around about 4 in the morning, just the way it is. I have to wait and see what's going to happen next. And as a consequence, look after myself, check my blood sugars, and I feel okay this morning. A bit hot still, maybe something not quite right, but I can do what I can do, and that's it. Keep an eye out, and if it gets too bad, see a doctor or go to A&E. Often go to the hospital first because there's a diabetic clinic there. At least I better check it's still there. It may have been closed because it was such a good centre of excellence, it was too expensive. We'll see. More importantly, step 10 is saying, how am I feeling? And how are you feeling? Or how are we feeling? Why and what can we do? Which is empathy. And the big news is, with step 10, be careful, because if you can work it out for yourself what's going on with these 12 steps, it also means we are judging ourselves to an extent. We then have the excellent toolkit to judge other people. And the worst part of that is we judge them, we know what's wrong with them, and then we tell them what's wrong with them. And we won't be thanked for it. We'll probably just stir up more trouble. So the 12-step program is always for us, not for the other people. And the more I don't judge other people, but just live life based on what is happening, and say this is what I can do in this situation, which may be to engage and try and influence, or try and help, or, most often, maybe keep my trap shut about other people's activities, because they're not for me, but they're perfectly okay for them, and walk away from it. And it's that freedom to feel it's okay. Say, I don't feel like doing this, it's an emphatic no. An emphatic no is better than a half-hearted yes. I know I don't feel like it. It's perfectly acceptable. except when we think we ought to be involved in doing. So sometimes we will be asked to do things and we just simply feel wrong about doing it, or simply saying, no, actually that's not good for me, it doesn't work for me, and walk away because it's okay. And that can take quite a while to get to grips with. I know it did for me, because I always thought if I did what you said and if I tried to fit in with what everybody else was doing, then my life would feel okay. But I didn't realise I had the freedom to walk away when I didn't feel right. So we do engage, we get included, we are part of something, hopefully, somewhere. And it started with fellowship for me, being a part of fellowship, greeting people at meetings, just saying hello, welcome, on the door, or making the tea, or putting the chairs out, or sharing. That was the greatest nervous feeling I'd had in a long, long time. I used to train people how to deal with difficult situations and express messages, truthful messages. It was called media training, and then it was diverted into spin training, where people, rather than tell the truth, it was how to tell the selective truth, which is called lying, usually, through their teeth. And we've had a few examples in the UK recently which are disturbing, but I can't do anything about that. I don't do media training, thank goodness. It was very well paid, but ethically I couldn't do it. I couldn't find any honest people to do it. But no, it wasn't that bad. I had a breakdown and an anxiety state, and I was burnt out. That's why I don't do it anymore. Anyway, some thoughts from a couple of years ago. A personal view: in fellowship, God, or the power greater than us, helps us find our personal path. Everyone on the planet has their own understanding about God, a higher power, and their own good conscience. We develop a personal compass of moral integrity. The common ground: open, honest and willing. That's what I've learned again and again. The experience is unique and authentic for today. So life is changing always, and I need not fear it. I don't have to stick to or feel I am stuck. Humility, which is the very basis of recovery, is saying I need to keep on learning life. And if I don't know how to handle an experience, it's okay to say, I don't feel right, I don't know how to handle this, or I just don't know how to do this. It's beyond me in my life experience. And if people say, you ought to know by now, tell them to fuck off. No, I don't mean that. Just be polite. But you can say it in your head if it makes you feel better. I have been known to say it out loud, which is not too helpful to them. Yes. An appeal to good conscience and God. Is there any difference for you? Good conscience or God? There may be. Whatever we're guided by. So for me, I'm guided by truth, love and wisdom, which is not often from outside me. I only have belief and opinion inside me. So is there any difference? When we look at the simple path in recovery, the path follows our intentions to be open, honest and willing to live well for a day. Our vision is clear as we endeavour and face life on life's terms. Meditation and or prayer help us define our personal code of conduct and how to be spiritual today. So my personal code of conduct is quite simple: open, honest and willing to try live life on life's terms. Look at the truth of situations, unconditionally love people, even when their behaviour is horrible and hateful, and that can be very, very difficult. So, and learn the wisdom of now. The wisdom of now often comes from truth and love. If I let people in and love them, they may tell me the truth, or they'll give me their opinion of the truth, and between the two of us maybe we work out what the truth is. So it's an ongoing process, and what might be right one day, as politicians often find, is not right the next day. and you have to go with the flow. And sometimes for a politician that means they have to walk away from public life for a while because the rules have changed. And worse still, to be replaced by someone who's done the same thing can be extremely galling for a politician, as is happening in the UK. So, if you don't follow a code of practice, code of conduct, which is pretty much open, honest and willing, so you can be a trustworthy person, rather than being found out as somebody who's creaming off luxurious amounts of money for working behind the scenes for other people, industries, companies, all that sort of stuff. Yes, corruption is all around us every day because we think we deserve it. What we deserve is a fair chance, and that's what Fellowship's given me. I can't change the world and what's going on. There'll be good and great people, and there'll be bad and small people, awful people full of ego, full of crap. At least I'm not in that category, I hope, just for one day. So I don't want to be turned into something I don't want to be again. I don't want to be in an anxiety state and have a nervous breakdown and have a nervous collapse and burn out like before and drink myself almost to death too many times. What helps me, even with my step 10, which is one of the spot check inventory, is one of the most useful elements I've ever come across. How am I feeling? Why? What can I do? How are we feeling? Why? And what can we do? And the serenity prayer which goes with it, whether you believe in God or not, simply good conscience. The serenity prayer tells me, can do, I can change my attitudes and behaviour. What I can't do is change your attitudes and behaviour, because you will decide what those are. I can try influence what is good for me and say, please help me with this, but I can't make it so. So there are no things I deserve in this life. If my expectations are too high, I may start to form resentments. And I think I mentioned before, resentments are, this is something that somebody else said to me, actually an ex-girlfriend in recovery said, expectations are resentments under construction. And she was right, but not about us, but it was just generally, expectations are resentments under construction. So if we expect too much of someone and don't ask them, or we expect too much of a situation without finding out if it's a possibility, then resentments and anger are close on our heels. So the step 10 reminds me, get your expectations right at the beginning of the day, Don. Set my expectations to 0, and that way anything can happen. And I've just seen a mouse just out of the corner of my eye. The little buggers are back. I've cleaned up every single scrap of something. What I can do, vacuum, clean and drive the little sod out. What I can't do, I can't kill it. I did actually dispatch one in a loaf of bread the other day and then chased another one out. So whatever's going on, there's been some building work across the way. I think they're moving in. Time to stop. So serenity prayer. What am I going to do with these blinking mice? They've been around for a week now. Yes, look on Amazon for something, or encourage the landlord to come round and do something about it. Serenity prayer, sigh, step 10, it's okay, it's not about me, the mice don't have a thing about me, there's just great big gaping holes down the pipework. So to God and in good conscience, depending what works for you, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today.